In this video, we'll try to calculate Cyno's damage numbers, DPS, and find out his best artifact set and weapon. Cyno is a full-time polearm main DPS that can have a 90% uptime on his elemental burst duration as long as you keep casting his elemental skill during that period to extend his burst duration at a 4 seconds interval. He can burst for as long as 18 seconds with only 20 seconds cooldown. During his elemental burst, his normal, charge, and plunging attacks will be converted to electro, gaining 100 elemental mastery bonus, have his interrupt resistance increased, and gaining immunity to electrocharge damage. His passive will also increase his elemental skill damage when cast under his elemental burst, and it will also trigger 3 additional bolts similar to Chongyun's C1 that deal electro damage. His other passive increases those 3 bolts damage and his elemental burst attack damage based on his elemental mastery. His rotation should look like this: burst, then elemental skill, then a full combo of normal attacks, followed by another elemental skill that produces 3 bolts and repeat 4 times. Now that we know his rotation, we can start calculating his DPS. In the first segment, I will try to find out his best build and artifact set using his signature weapon first. This is because his signature weapon is so different, it gives Cyno a lot of attack bonuses from his elemental mastery. So the build might be different if you're not using his signature weapon, which I will cover after this. Also, I will use 24 seconds as his duration because we need to run 3 other supports beside him. With 6 seconds to run those 3 supports, and Cyno himself using 18 seconds during his burst, that totals to 24 seconds duration. In this calculation, after adding 9 aggravate reactions onto his attacks, and using the attack electro crit damage build, the best artifact set for him is the double EM sets, with 11.73k DPS. But by changing the sands from attack sands to EM sands, the DPS is now increased slightly to 12.35k DPS. This is because the EM gives him an attack bonus because of the weapon passive. By changing one of the EM set with the 2-piece Thundering Fury set, however, increases the DPS a tiny bit more to 12.36k DPS. So if you're pulling for his signature weapon, it is best to use a 2-piece Thundering Fury set and any 2-piece EM set. And the main stats should be an EM Sands, an Electro Goblet, and a crit damage circlet with as much as possible crit substats. But if you're not using his signature weapon, you can choose any of these sets that suits your team composition. And the main stats should be an attack sands, an electro goblet, and a crit damage circlet with as much as possible crit substats. As you can see, the 4-piece Gilded Dreams set is actually the best artifact set for Cyno without his signature weapon. And since Cyno will likely need another electro battery like Fischl, then he'll be guaranteed to get the 14% attack and 100 EM buffs, along with the 80 basic EM stat. So using the Gilded Dream artifact set, let me show you his complete weapon DPS chart. As you can see, things doesn't look too good here for F2P players, except that you can use the Blackcliff pole to fight smaller enemies to get that constant attack boss. But for fighting single boss enemy, this Blackcliff pole is close to nothing. The next best polearm for F2P is the R5 White Tassel, which can deal 10.71k DPS without any requirement. Meanwhile, the 5-star Primordial Jade Winged Spear oddly beat the signature weapon, which makes me think that there's going to be a buff for either his kit or his signature weapon, or both. To recap, the best artifact set for Cyno with his signature weapon is the 2-piece Thundering Fury set and 2-piece EM set. The best artifact set for Cyno without his signature weapon is the 4-piece Gilded Dream set, and for the weapon, there are many options depending on what you have. But for people who don't own a single 5-star polearm yet, the 3 stars White Tassel at R5 is a solid pick. So that concludes my Cyno video, guys. Subscribe for more DPS calculation like this for future characters. I will do Candace next, as soon as possible, and please stay tuned.